Nazis in Antarctica is something that you've probably heard about, but is it really true that the Nazis visited Antarctica? There are so many different stories of what happened when the Nazis went to Antarctica, like the most extreme being that they found alien life or some sort of alien technology. In today's video, we're going to be talking about all the stuff that I found while I was doing research on this topic and what I think truly happened. Our story starts in the summer of 1936. The Nazis at this point in time were trying to prepare for the future war, also known as World War II. And to do this, they created something called the 4-year plan. The person put in charge of this 4-year plan was someone by the name of Hermann Göring. Göring was a German politician, was one of Hitler's close friends, and was put in charge for wanting to help Hitler prepare for the war. The 4-year plan's main goal was for Germany to be self-sufficient so they couldn't be blockaded, or also known as blocking off goods or people from entering or leaving a certain location. One of the things Hitler wanted Germany to have ready at the end of the 4-year plan was whale oil. Whale oil was very important in the process of making margarine, which was very popular and was why Germany needed so much of it. In the book, The Third Reich in Antarctica, the German Antarctic Expedition, 1938-39, it says, quote, "They had to buy whale oil from Norway before, and they didn't want to spend the currency on Norway. They wanted to produce whale oil by themselves." Whaling at the time had been non-existent in the North Atlantic and the North Pacific. With this in mind, German ships operated farther from home, and the idea of building a base in Antarctica seemed more and more like a good idea, with 50 German whale catchers and 7 factory ships operating off of Queen Maud Land. In August 1936, unclaimed territory in Antarctica between Norwegian and British zones were found by the Germans. An expedition to explore and claim the region started to take place in a region of Antarctica known as Queen Maud Land. The expedition finished getting organized in 1938, and the expedition was led by Captain Alfred Richter. I don't know if I pronounced his last name right, so I'm just going to call him Alfred for now on. He picked his crew for the secret mission based on their polar experience and not by their status in the Nazi party, which is very interesting to think about. On December 17th, 1938, Alfred and his crew left Hamburg, Germany, aboard the MS Schwabenland. I believe I'm butchering that, so I'm just going to call the ship the MS Land for now on because I think I'll spend more time mispronouncing the name than all the time that I spent researching for this video. The ship arrived at the Antarctic coastline 30 days later, on January 19th, 1939. German flags were placed on the ice along the coast, and the Nazis named the area New Schwabenland after the ship. The group then began aerial reconnaissance, which is basically a military term for scoping out the area to see what's ahead. In this case, there was 2 reasons about why they did this. First, to photograph the area for scientific research, and to also claim it for Germany. One interesting fact about these flights was during one of the flights, the crew didn't have much fuel left and had to throw out the gear to make the aircraft weigh less, which included items like metal swastikas, which at the time were supposed to be put on parts of Antarctica to show the Nazis claimed the area, but these metal swastikas were never found, and have still never been found to this day. The MS Land expedition ended on February 5th, 1939, about a month later after arriving at Antarctica. One interesting fact is when the crew were on their way back, the scientists on board detected seismic activity, which is basically energy that travels through the earth. It can come from things such as earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, magma movement, etc. With the activity that they discovered, they believed that there were volcanoes running north to south in the middle of the Atlantic. Many years later, their assumption was true, with volcanoes being found in the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, an area where 2 Earth's tectonic plates are pulling apart and creating new sections of the seafloor. From what I have read, there apparently has been no evidence that Hitler had any further interest with Antarctica after the expedition returned. Now, I want to get into some of the conspiracy theories. We're going to start off with the one I think almost everyone knows or has heard about when talking about this topic, and that is that the Nazis went to Antarctica to meet with alien life and found UFOs. In a video called "Did Senior Nazi Escape to Antarctica Colony After the War?", they talk about this theory, and it starts off with someone named General Hans Kammler. On April 17th, 1945, Kammler sent his last ever telegram, which in that telegram he rejected a request from Heinrich Himmler, who was one of the most powerful men in the Nazi party at the time. In the request, Himmler wanted a truck, and it brings up the question, why would Kammler request this request from someone who is so superior to him? People who have done their research on this have said that the truck was a code name for the massive Ju-390, which was a plane that could fly 10,000 kilometers non-stop. The thing that makes this even more interesting is that only 2 of the planes were built, and Kammler had one of them. Once the war was over, his Ju-390 wasn't found, and it leads to the question, did Kammler use the Ju-390 to go somewhere? Some people said he could have went to South America, with the president of Argentina at the time approving passports for 1,000 German scientists. Reports of UFOs went up during this time, and some people say the Nazis found alien life and brought some of the technology they found to South America. But some people say that Kammler and a team of scientists didn't go to South America and actually went to Antarctica at the end of the war. This theory relates back to the Antarctic expedition that I talked about, with the Nazis and how they built an underground base, and when the war ended, Kammler and his team went there. Now, this might sound crazy, and to be fair, I feel like a lot of conspiracy theories are, but where this theory is backed up is something called Operation High Jump. High jump was led by Admiral Byrd in 1947. The goal of high jump was to basically test different things in a very cold and icy environment, like testing equipment and things of that nature. One thing that you will need to know is that Operation High Jump was the largest armada ever sent to Antarctica, including 13 ships, 4,700 men, aircraft carriers, submarines, destroyers, and much more. Admiral Byrd was told to investigate any Nazi presence in the area. High Jump had 8 months of supplies, and they could have stayed there for a while if they really needed to, but they only stayed there for 16 weeks, which is about 3.5 months, and there was no reason for why they left so quickly. This then leads to the theories that maybe the Armada had ran into something or someone they didn't expect. When Byrd was on the way back, he said some things that led people to push the Nazis found aliens in Antarctica theory, like when he said the US will need to be prepared to fight against aircraft that can fly pole to pole at very high speeds. On the Joe Rogan Experience, Joe and Sam talk more about Operation High Jump, and then bring up some different things that we haven't talked about. They talk about Admiral Byrd and how he met with Nazi UFOs. According to this theory, the Nazis made a deal with aliens to work together. The aliens apparently went to go meet with Klaus Schwab's dad and Eisenhower to make a deal, basically saying we can do this the easy way or the hard way. Apparently this is where Eisenhower made the deal with the aliens. The deal was that they could kidnap people to do experiments on, but it couldn't be anywhere in the world, it had to be in US National Forest. Which, if you know anything about the missing 411 cases, this might start to make more sense. If you don't know anything about what missing 411 means, I'll explain a little bit of it now. Missing 411 is the term used to talk about people who go into forest and then disappear out of nowhere, and usually these people are never found, or if they are found very, very far away from where they disappeared, and the distance they traveled doesn't usually make sense to the time that they were gone for. Later in the podcast, they talk about New Squabenland and how that area is where the aliens went to. Sam talks about how he believes the situation is a spiritual war. They talk about how these people are trying to work with dark entities to get more control, and that is really what is going on here. Another video called Ancient Aliens Secret Nazi Underground Headquarters in the Antarctic talks about the Antarctic expedition and how Hitler believed that there was ancient relics that had crazy powers. According to some theorists, the Nazis made an underground headquarters called Base 211. They talk about how the Nazis, when they got to Antarctica, found these huge cities that had technology that was very advanced, and the cities were just not on the surface, but they also went underground. The theory adds that they moved a bunch of their equipment and people to Antarctica to repurpose these cities. To wrap up this video, I wanted to give my final thoughts. I think we can all agree on the Nazis did in fact go to Antarctica, but I think the real problem is, did they find anything there? I honestly believe it could be possible they did find something, but I can't say if it was UFOs or aliens. If you know your World War II history, we all know Hitler was crazy, so saying that he was trying to find alien life isn't too far-fetched, but after researching, I just feel like all the evidence goes to whale oil being the only reason they went to Antarctica. I didn't go over every single theory, but I wanted to get this video out and see what you guys thought about this. If you guys like this type of video and this type of content, leave a comment if I should do more videos like this. Thanks for watching, everyone. More videos are coming on the way. I'll see you guys later.